Okay, so my name is Rachael Sarra. I'm a very proud Garang woman from the Bundaberg area. And I'm really excited to be here. I have my grandma here and my family, which is lovely, and my niece and my friends. So thank you everyone for coming. Okay, so the first photo I picked is an illustration I did of my grandma Sa.ra. To me, Grandma Sa.ra represents my connection to culture, but she also represents resilience. I think it's very interesting to know that it's just 2 generations away, even 1 generation away, the hardships for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. So it's kind of a reminder to connect to culture and to family, but to also understand that we are all accountable today. It's not too far from the distance, and certain things are still happening today. And I've got 23 seconds left. And so what I kind of do here is you really get to know a person when you're drawing them. You have to look at their facial features, and that was a really special way for me to connect with Grandma. I did this when she had passed, so it was nice to kind of be in her presence in a different way. Yeah. I'm getting nods of approval from Emily, so that must mean good things.
You wasted 7 seconds.
Oh, I didn't know it goes on.
Yeah, it's one after the other.
Oh, okay. So the next one is this illustration, which I did called Love You. So basically, this represents the idea. I give this to everyone who buys something from me as a free postcard. So it represents me thanking them, but also it's a kind of a reminder for us all to love ourselves. I don't think we can achieve our best until we fully love ourselves and enjoy ourselves. So this one is kind of, I did it quite quickly, which was interesting. I don't often do it all that quick, but it kind of just came off the Apple Pen, essentially. So that was really interesting for me as well, to kind of just really acknowledge the fact that I have come a long way and really enjoy who I am now. So the next one is the artwork Resilience. So again, I think it's really important to not get too down in the dumps when we go through hard situations or journeys. I think life is navigating those situations, and it's how we look at them when we're faced with those journeys. So Resilience was one of the first pieces I actually did, and it was kind of acknowledging the journey I've been on, and it's not all happy and it's not all exciting. There are hard times, but it's all how you kind of look at those experiences and grow from them. And you can kind of see like the line work in this one. It's quite therapeutic. I did a time lapse of it as well, and just the repetitive motion of creating those dots and those line forms is really kind of, it's a self-care process of its own. I think that reflects also the meaning of the work as well. So yeah, and I just really like the colors of them. It's nice. Not a whole lot of pink in that one. The next one is Energy. So this artwork, again, you'll kind of, once you kind of get to know my art, you'll kind of find those common themes of that self-care process of society in which we're in, and kind of being, I guess, in situations where it takes a lot of self-confidence, but also a lot of support from the outside. But it's all about creating that good energy. And I think, especially these last few months, I've seen a real shift in myself in having new energy. And I think we should never really settle for anything less than what we, I guess, would like for ourselves. I think if we're not 100% happy, then we have the opportunity to kind of adjust those things. And it's all about who you surround yourself with. So got my best friend of 23 years here and her parents. So it's really special to kind of have that good energy around, even though she's leaving me, but whatever. That was the microphone. I didn't do that. Is it still working? Is that good?
Yep.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Okay, it's my big bit. That's recorded. The next one is Manifest. So again, it's that idea that we have a choice with our feelings and emotions. So too easily we can let our negative emotions overcome us and create a different person of ourselves, so a different self or a different being. But it's all about kind of, again, that support networks to overcome those negative environments or aspects or people. And I think regardless of who we are, I think we can kind of all reflect on a moment in time where we've kind of at a crossroads of letting negative energy or attitudes overcome us, but it's that idea of kind of being in a supportive environment and really focusing on the good feelings and the good experiences in our lives. And kind of, I feel like attracts like, so the more good energy we surround ourselves with, the more that we're going to attract. And I think that's really important, not only as an artist but also as a person. So yeah, is that the next one? This one here is a sunset in Maui. So Emily and I went on a holiday, redhead over here, and I think I ditched her at the dinner table. Actually, it was a really hot environment and Emily's the first one to get hot and flustered, but I left her to get the sunset. But I think what's important with this is acknowledging that inspiration can come from anywhere. So I was really drawn by the colors of this environment, and again, the people I had surrounded myself with. It was just Emily and I traveling around Hawaii, so we were our best selves. So it was nice to kind of have that moment of reflection on sunset. And I've got an artwork in there, a print actually, that's a winter sunset, which is kind of drawn from those colors as well. So yeah, it's kind of nice to just, did I miss that one? No. Yeah, it's just nice to kind of reflect on your environment and seek inspiration from different things. So the next one is a bit of a typographic one, self-determined. So for me, I think it's really important if we're talking about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture that those conversations are really led and driven by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. I think too often we are caught up in the idea that people can speak for us, but I think we've been here for 60,000 years. We're super resilient. We know how we've survived that long, so I think it's time that we shift this communication and really ask our First Nations people how we can better ourselves in our environment. I think there's not an Aboriginal word that means suicide, there's not an Aboriginal word that means climate change, so I think we need to acknowledge the fact that previously these things didn't exist and we were able to care for country and also care for ourselves. So I think that's really important to kind of shift that narrative and really be led by our First Nations people. And then all trauma needs to be acknowledged. So this one I created on Anzac Day, and it's not a disrespectful thing towards Anzacs or celebrating that. I think what it represents is the fact that as a nation we can come together and heal and acknowledge the past. And I think what we're seeing is there's a gap when we talk about Australia Day, when we talk about, Reconciliation Week, there's still this gap where we're divided. And I think, again, it comes down to that shift in narrative, but also acknowledging that, trauma is real and it all needs to be acknowledged, whether it's our Anzacs, whether it's First Nations genocide, whether it's, even day-to-day suicide rates out in community. I think this trauma needs to be acknowledged for us to actually really, truly move forward as a nation. And I think the fact that I did it in kind of pinks is, I've spoken before, there's a lot of pink in my work, and it's a very calming colour. So it's that idea that you, self-reflect, but also calming in that thing.
What was that one called?
All trauma needs to be acknowledged. So the next one is me painting a mural. It's gone now. I went out last night. It's not there anymore, but there's one at QPAC. But so this one, it's interesting, and there's an artwork in there that kind of reflects to it as well. And as a light-skinned Aboriginal woman, I have the ability to kind of hide in plain sight from a lot of things, and that can be seen as a privilege, but it also comes with complexities as well. So it's really about this. On this day, there was a few interesting comments when I was painting contemporary Aboriginal art, people asking me if I was Aboriginal, or you're doing Aboriginal art, are you even Aboriginal? So there's certain things like that I think as a nation and as communities we need to acknowledge that we're not all the same, and we're not we don't all look the same, we don't all speak the same, we don't act the same, we truly don't believe in the same things except for a core few themes across communities. But it's important to acknowledge diversity. But it's also nice to kind of represent culture on such a large scale, like are we up to the next one? Sorry. This one is a photo of Renee and I. So we did the Concrete Jellyfish Co. Collaboration. So what this represents to me is the idea that collaboration is really important. I think what I found with that collaboration is that I've been able to connect with a totally new market and a totally new community of people, and I think we can find strength in our differences, and it can kind of create something even more powerful than what we would be seen as individually. So Renee is kind of a great person, but it also represents so much more than just Renee. It's that idea of our strengths our differences can be seen as a strength. So that's really important to me as an artist. This one is called Appropriation. So it's a print of mine, and it's an interesting one because even more so recently, I've seen a lot of people kind of creating work that really strongly reflects sacred symbols that a lot of people don't necessarily see as sacred symbols. And I think it's kind of a piece that's a reminder to really question ourselves as a community and understand what we're drawing. I'll often get Instagram messages. I got one yesterday of someone saying they were inspired by my work and turned it into earrings, and essentially what they had done was taken my artwork and put them on earrings, and I didn't understand how that was inspiration and not copying, but I think that's kind of the conversations we need to have, particularly in the art world as well. So yeah, I've got 9 seconds. Yeah, so I think, one, that we can kind of question ourselves as well when products we're consuming. This one is a symbol I did. I was waiting for Mum to pick me up from the airport. She got lost, so is that
Didn't get lost.
I
didn't get in time.
Yeah. And so I was sitting at Coffee Club and I had an iced coffee, and it kind of had residue, and I kind of just started painting with the water on the cement. And it was really interesting to kind of just acknowledge the fact that we don't need to have tools. Yeah, it's like we can work from our environment. And I think traditionally Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people have always used what was around them to create work. And I think in a modern time now, we're seeing this opportunity to kind of work with different things. So yeah, it was kind of that idea that no matter where you are or what you're doing, you can kind of work with what's around you to create work or inspiration.
And what does the circle mean?
Meeting place. Yeah. So the next one is the QPAC mural that I did for QPAC with Troy. So this one was really special because it represents the idea of acknowledging that, and Amanda said it nicely as well, we are on Aboriginal lands, and that connection to our ancestors and that bubbling energy underneath the surface. I feel like we're at this point where I can really feel it kind of shifting in the direction that we're going to see this resurgence of Aboriginal culture and languages, and it is the year of Indigenous languages this year, so just really acknowledging our past is still present in our future, as well as our present, and we can really feel it in different ways. So it's not necessarily in the ways you might think. It might be a feeling that you get, it might be something that you see that reflects on a memory that you have, and I think those sorts of things, we can kind of look at our own ancestors regardless of whether we're Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander and have those connections. The next one's a photo of my friend Jenna and I at the Firebirds game. So I had the opportunity to design the Indigenous dress for Queensland Firebirds. And I was able to bring some people. So I brought my mum and my grandma, which was special. But the one thing I love about Jenna is that to anyone's simple eye, we would be competitors, but somehow we formed a really beautiful bond that allows us to work off each other rather than compete with each other. And we both have our differences, but we also have our strengths in our own right. But the idea that we can still be such good friends and be so similar, I think, is again leading to the fact that, you know, we can find strength in our diversity. It doesn't need to be a dividing point. It can be something that actually really creates unity and something that's really powerful. So she's been such a supportive person, but again, she went to London like someone else, so she's gone. Is that everything?
You're never gonna be.
One more, isn't there?
Or is that me?
No, you.
Oh, I didn't think that was a photo.
That's you.
This is me looking flash. Oh shit, that's that thing again. Anyways, yeah, I think again, I don't know, I thought this was going to be my headshot, but I could talk about myself. Really good lighting. I felt like my highlight was on point that day. No, so the earrings I'm wearing are connected communities. So they were part of this year's NAIDOC collection with Renee, and it's all about communities coming together. Each circle represents a community. They're different, but they're encapsulated in the one earring. So again, it's that strength and diversity and coming together. And I think that's essentially what we've done here today as well. We all come from different backgrounds, and we're all gathering here kind of listening to me, unfortunately, but it's been really kind of great to kind of have different people come and engage with my art and my story. So yeah.
And before you finish, can you just sum up your exhibition?
Yeah, so to summarise my exhibition, which is what Amanda said if you didn't hear, so for those of you who don't know, I, in the last few months, started working for myself. So I was in an agency which had both its, struggles as an artist, but also really great opportunities. And what I found is this exhibition really represents growing pains, essentially. And I'm going through a bit of an identity crisis in terms of who I am as an artist now that I stand on my own 2 feet and I'm not sort of governed by other people. So you can really see, if you read the stories, and there's a full exhibition description at the front that my friend Jenna wrote for me. She's really good with words, I'm not. And it really just encapsulates the journey of, these last few months. And what it really represents as well is kind of, we don't need to find answers in that exhibition, and it was just a self-care process. I've had a lot of pushing and pulling and a lot of internal conflict and confusion within myself, and not necessarily with my identity as such of who I am, but particularly as myself as an artist. So there's a few works still for sale in there, hint hint. But I'm happy to talk you through when we pop over, anyone who wants to hear the stories of any of them. They're on the walls, but it's always nice to see it in person. You want the puppy? Yeah. Is there anything else? Joy?
That's it. No, thank you.